That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, I'm really excited to get into this video. We got some great feedback on this same type of video that was for the wide receivers in the 2017 rookie class. Now we are going to do the same thing with the running backs, but I want to put out a quick announcement. We had some major news a couple days ago about Jamal Williams opting out of the 2020 NFL season. And after this news, I already had Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my running back one. But now I think that if we look at him and our overall dynasty rankings, he should be as high as running back 3, only behind Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. And I know this is going to seem a little hot takey for a lot of people, but I have some great points to make about it. And I'm going to make a video for that on the Patreon tomorrow. If you're a member of the Patreon, you know where to find it. If not, link will be down below. Now, let's get into this video and let's talk about some of these 2017 rookie running back classes. And if you remember, this class was hyped up to be the most talented running back class that we had seen in the previous 5 or 6 years. I mean, if you remember that 2016, the 2015, and the 2014 running back classes, they were all extremely underwhelming. And we had this great group of guys coming in the 2017 class, and they got the hype they deserved. And I think they even proved to be more valuable than we initially thought. And let's just go with the same format video as last time, and let's start from the number 1 ranked rookie running back in the 2017 draft class, Leonard Fournette. Now, Leonard Fournette was not only ranked the number 1 running back in dynasty leagues, he was also viewed that way by the NFL as well. We see the Jacksonville Jaguars take him as the 4th overall player off the board in the 2017 draft class. Obviously, this looks horrible now, him going ahead of Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. But nonetheless, Leonard Fournette was pretty much a smash pick in 2017 drafts. He had the draft capital, he had the speed, he had the production in college. The only thing we were really worried about with Leonard Fournette was the situation and the injuries. We saw injuries plague him at the early part of his NFL career. He's been able to stay healthy as of late. Last season, I believe maybe at most he missed 1 game. But nonetheless, we actually see his dynasty value go from being the number 1 rookie running back in this draft class, falling all the way down to the 5th running back in this draft class. And this is not necessarily due to Leonard Fournette being a bust or anything. If anything, he proved to be worth the selection that you made in 2017. While people are taking Corey Davis, it was always a smart move to go out there and get one of these top tier running backs. But Leonard Fournette has dropped down to 5 just because some of these other guys have skyrocketed up the rankings, such as Christian McCaffrey, who was the 2nd ranked running back in the 2017 Dynasty rookie class. Yet we know that not only was he the 2nd ranked running back and already valued extremely highly, now he is valued higher than pretty much any player in Dynasty. If you own Christian McCaffrey on your roster, if you drafted him in your 2017 rookie draft, not only have you been able to go out there and win your Dynasty leagues with the production that he has offered you so far, but even if you want to, you can go out there and you can cash out with already having that production on your roster and make a significant profit that you invested in 2017, whether you spent the 3rd, 4th, or 5th overall pick on Christian McCaffrey. Clearly it worked out. Now, a running back that did not go as high in the NFL draft as Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette, but we are still extremely excited about him, is Joe Mixon. And if y'all remember, Joe Mixon had off-the-field concerns, which led him falling to 48th in the NFL draft to the Cincinnati Bengals. But he was still valued as that 3rd running back in Dynasty just because he had the perfect profile. I mean, if we go back and if we look at this, it's easy to see how we were so excited about Joe Mixon, and for great reason. He was big, he was fast, he could catch the ball. Anything you want from a running back, Joe Mixon had it to be a fantasy workhorse. The only thing that he has lacked so far in his career is the situation. He profiled to be a great receiving running back coming out of college, yet the Cincinnati Bengals have yet to use him that way. And when you're not being used as a receiving back in an offense that's not going to be at the very top of the league in scoring, it's hard to be an elite fantasy asset. But nonetheless, Joe Mixon is still a very strong running back 1. Hopefully, Joe Burrow is able to come in and kind of unlock Joe Mixon. But we see him go from the RB3 in this draft class to the RB4 right now. Now, Dalvin Cook. If y'all remember the story about Dalvin Cook, it was all about his 3-cone in 2017. I mean, he was extremely high on everyone's draft boards, and then he goes out there and puts up an abysmal 3-cone. I don't even know why he participated in the drill, but it not only dropped his NFL draft stock, but it dropped his perceived talent in the dynasty community a large margin. But if we go back and we look at this Dalvin Cook profile, he has everything. Just like Joe Mixon, he has the size, he has the athleticism, he has the pass-catching ability. And unlike Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook actually lands in a fantastic spot in the NFL draft to the Minnesota Vikings, a team that up until this point have used him as a bell cow running back and has really built their game plan around him. I think it's something that we can expect to continue in Minnesota. But Dalvin Cook was ranked as the 4th running back in the 2017 draft class, and now he is valued as the 3rd guy. Now, someone that y'all have not heard in a very, very long time, it's funny to bring this name up, Samanje Piren was the 5th ranked running back in the 2017 draft class, according to most dynasty players, and this is something we can learn from. I mean, we're looking at Samanje Piren, and the reason that he was up here is people were excited about him before the NFL draft, and then he falls in the NFL draft, but despite falling, he lands in what is perceived to be a great situation in Washington. Now, looking back, obviously, it's easy to say that was not the case, but he had no competition there, and people really thought that he was going to be able to thrive, and this is just one example where we cannot necessarily go out there, and we can't overlook these guys falling in the NFL draft to this point and decide that we are better at evaluating talent than the NFL evaluators. And this is how we have to understand that Samanje Piren was the 5th ranked rookie running back in this draft class. And the guy right behind him, Alvin Kamara. I mean, can you imagine being the guy that's going to go out there and take Samanje Piren over Alvin Kamara, who Alvin Kamara was the 6th running back in this draft class. Now he has the 2nd most value, only behind Christian McCaffrey. He was selected with the 67th pick in the NFL draft. We all know the story. I mean, it was seen to be a very bad landing spot with Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram. But I think the lesson to be learned here is if a team is willing to spend that premium draft capital, like the 67th overall pick on a player, does not necessarily matter if you perceive it to be a crowded situation. Because if they are spending that draft capital, you should believe that that team has a plan for that player, and they're not going to make that investment without thinking they can get something from it. So I think now, I mean, the easiest way to translate this is go look at Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson was selected at the very, very beginning of the 3rd round of the NFL draft, yet people are still off of him due to Darius Guice and Adrian Peterson, even though we are looking at a very similar situation to Alvin Kamara. I mean, an elite pass catcher, a guy that has athleticism, a guy that has size, and a guy that lands in a situation just like Alvin Kamara did, behind Adrian Peterson and behind Darius Guice. Now we're looking with Antonio Gibson. I mean, the same situation. Adrian Peterson is 3 years older, and Darius Guice is not on the same level as Mark Ingram in terms of durability. Now, a player that hurts my heart to bring up his name, Donta Foreman. I mean, he's a Texas guy, so you know I loved him. I mean, but he was another guy. He had everything but the pass-catching ability. He had the size, he had the athleticism, and he really was only able to go out there and run the ball with volume, and that's how he was going to be able to score fantasy points. Yet we see him, he goes out there and he tears his Achilles, and that's pretty much just a death sentence for any NFL player, especially a running back. Now, the player after this, I mean, this is where we're seeing some gems. I mean, Kareem Hunt was the 8th ranked running back in this draft class. I mean, he has been a roller coaster since then. Obviously, we know the story. I mean, he goes out there and he ends up rising to be a 1st-round dynasty startup pick. Then he has the off-field concerns, and he is almost worthless. People are trading him for 3rd-round rookie picks. And now we see him land in Cleveland, and he's actually being able to be used as a pass catcher in Cleveland, and his dynasty value has rebounded, not to the point where it was, but that is just due to the situation that he's in. And we see that in the 2017 initial rookie running back rankings, Kareem Hunt was ranked as the 8th RB off the board, and right now, out of this draft class, he is currently the 6th most valuable running back. Now, I'm just going to get through a couple of these names fast. Jamal Williams, I mean, a guy who's been extremely vanilla in the NFL up until this point. All he really does is siphon carries away from Aaron Jones, and that's something that you don't want to see because he's not necessarily getting high leverage touches and he's not necessarily not being on the field. So it's kind of a headache trying to decide when to start him, even if Aaron Jones is off the field. Now they have A.J. Dillon, who has more team investment than either Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams ever had, and he is definitely going to slide into that Jamal Williams role. Now another player, Jeremy Mcnichols, he had his truthers, a couple of guys who think that they are able to evaluate NFL players a lot better than the NFL true evaluators. And we see that Jeremy Mcnichols went from everyone's favorite sleeper to getting cut before the season even starts and then bouncing around NFL teams. And now, I mean, he's essentially a name that you would never bring up around dynasty circles, but he's an important story to remember about. Don't get too excited about these guys that go out and really have yet to show anything that we can get excited about besides small school college production and besides athleticism. Now, two guys that I was interested in seeing that were this low ranked, Chris Carson and Marlon Mack, round us out at 11 and 12. And it's really interesting just because I remember in the 2017 rookie draft, Marlon Mack having a lot more hype than being the 12th running back off the board. I don't know if I'm just misremembering this. I don't know if I'm looking at incorrect historical ADP. But it is interesting to see how these guys that, even though they did not have the draft capital, they did have interesting marks on their profile and they landed in fantastic situations. And once you realize that they were going to have the starting role, you could easily go out there and obtain them for a fair price. So I think that's what we should try to do from now on. If you're going to take shots on these day 3 running backs, I think it would be better to go and put some of these guys on your watch list. And once they start to pick up steam, I think you can buy still at a reasonable price and you can avoid the Jeremy Mcnichols and pay a small premium to make sure you have the guys like Marlon Mack on your roster. Now, that's all I got for y'all. Really hope y'all enjoyed the video. Really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if you did, make sure you drop a like and make sure you subscribe.